I'm not sure how I found myself in here, but let's do it anyway. Hello and welcome to episode 7 of Spaceman Days. Thanks very much for coming back and watching. If you've subscribed, it means a lot to me, and thanks very much for joining us today if this is your first time. So today I thought I'd talk about Spaceman Pics. Spaceman Pics is the photographic side of Spaceman Creative Studio, and the main reason I want to talk about that today is to talk about diversifying your product offering or service offering. So from my point of view, I run Spaceman Creative Studio. The clue's in the name, obviously. What that means is I offer lots of different creative services. But one of the main things, and one of my passions as well outside of paid work, is photography, and that is what Spaceman Pics is all about. I'll put the links to Spaceman Pics. Spaceman Pics has its own website and has its own Instagram account, and it's all branded to match with Spaceman Creative Studio, as you would imagine. So what I thought today that I'll go through some of my equipment that I use. I'm currently filming on my Canon 80D, which isn't a bad camera for vlogging and video in general. It's also my main camera for photography as well as videoing. So I can't really show you that, but you can Google it, Canon 80D. Some of you probably got it. First things first, I think I'll show you the bag. I've had so many bags, photographic bags. I think if you're a photographer, you're probably in the same boat as me. So at the moment, I'm using the ProTactic 450, which, although it's heavy, is awesome. It looks pretty good. It doesn't look too much like a camera bag. It looks more like a sort of trekking kind of hiking bag, but it can take so much stuff. So it means if I'm going up into town or going to a shoot, I can take pretty much every bit of equipment that I've got. So inside that, I take my second camera, as I said, the 750D Canon, which is a good backup camera for me. You know, I only started this business a year ago, as those who've watched my other videos would know, and there's some budget that needs to be created to pay for all this kind of equipment. And quite frankly, camera equipment is not cheap. So started on this one before I got much paid work, and then went up to the 80D, which is, you know, I'm not very good with all the technical side of things. You know, I don't talk too much about all the technical side of all of this kind of stuff, but realistically what it is pretty much the last DSLR that I will get before I jump up to the something like the 5D or one of the other cameras. But budget allowing, you know, that's a big jump. It's double the price. So any of you who've started a business yourself know one of the main things is to try not get into too much debt, and one of the things I wanted to do was not get into any debt at all and build a business and be profitable as soon as possible. And I think I get really good results on the 80D, and then combining that with Photoshop and Lightroom, which I'm pretty good on, I think it gets fantastic results, particularly for around about £1,000, which is what the camera is. So a couple of other things I've got in the bag. I've got the EFS 10 to 18mm Canon, I don't know if that's working, which is my wide angle lens. I use this a lot for the interior photographer. It does the nice wide angle shots without having too much of a fisheye effect on there, which is great. The Raynox, I don't know if you can see it, hopefully you can, probably not too much. Anyway, the Raynox microscopic lens, which is my macro lens, is a Raynox 250 if you want to look it up. I'll try and put some links down below so you can look it up, but that takes some of the photography I do for the nature photography, mainly insects and things like that, which I've got some nice shots of, and that's a nice little add-on. Literally just pushes in like that, clicks on the end of your lens, of your current lens. With the Raynox 250, I actually use my Sigma. Actually, this Sigma lens came with, again, with the original 750D package, which was fantastic, because this 70 to 300mm lens with the macro is brilliant. I use it a lot for all sorts of different things. It's a really great lens, so that's in the bag. Like many people, I also have the Canon 50mm lens, which is brilliant lens. Just takes such a lovely shot. Obviously the 80D has a cropped sensor, so it's not full frame, so it's not really 50mm, but nevertheless it still takes really nice shots. Little blowy thing, kind of works with Spaceman as well. Aperture. Now this is great, this is a great bit of kit. I have to say, if you watch Peter McKinnon, you're probably going to think this guy, all he's got is Peter McKinnon equipment, which is probably true, because I watch a lot of different things and watch a lot of reviews and then fill my bag with the stuff I've watched. But essentially, this is the Aperture Amaran little light, which fits on top of your camera and is a constant light source. It's fantastic for nighttime photography, or when those moments when you just need something lit up. It's chargeable on a USB, has a little plus and minus so you can go up and down on it, so I recommend that as well. Like many people, Joby, GorillaPod, everyone's got one of these, or a lot of people have one of these. Lacy hard drive, again a lot of people have got this. It's all weather, outdoors, hard as nails, excellent hard drive to have. Rode video mic, it's not the Pro, it's the standard one, but perfect, turns on as soon as you plug it in, got a dead cat to go on for windy conditions, etc, etc, etc. And that's it, all sorts of stuff really in the bag. Currently using a monopod as well, which I've started using. My tripod, I have to say, was just driving me mad. So I've got a monopod with a little tri base on the bottom, which is fantastic, and it's just so easy. It's carbon fibre, lifts up, goes down, lifts up without any problems at all, so I use that all the time. So that's sort of all my kit. Now, as I said, I'm not really hugely technical. I buy stuff after I watch a review of it. I know how it works, I know how my cameras work. I probably couldn't tell someone how to do it, that's why I don't teach photography, but I know what I'm doing with my stuff. And I think ultimately that's one of the main things to do, is make sure you just know what you're doing with your kit. You know, unless you're going to teach other people photography, it doesn't really matter what you're saying to other people, whether you can tell them, you know, your ISO and your shutter speed and all of the different things that you do with photography. You don't really need to be able to tell everyone that, quite frankly. You need to be able to produce fantastic shots at high quality and do your thing. Do your own thing and don't pressure yourself too much, whether you're an amateur photographer or whether you do a bit of both like me, where I get paid for quite a bit of different stuff, but I also do my own amateur stuff on the side as well. So what I tend to do is do all my editing in the office. Obviously I've got Lightroom and Photoshop. I generally use both on nearly every picture I take. Lightroom I absolutely love. I couldn't recommend enough. If you don't use Lightroom already and you want to be a photographer, or you're just starting out, if you can get a copy of Lightroom, do that, because it is a brilliant program to have. Aside from that, I also use Photoshop a lot, and that's because, for instance, interior photography, I do office interior photography, interiors of churches, things like that. There's always something that you cannot get out of the shot that you need to get out of the shot. So ultimately, get it into Photoshop and you can just wipe away all sorts of different bits and pieces that you don't want in there. So those two programs, if you can get your hands on them, brilliant. If you've got a student account, if you're a student, you get discounts on the Adobe Creative Cloud monthly costs, but I would highly recommend those if you can. I do a lot of photography up in London and around about the country for interiors. Recently, a lot of my photography for my personal life has been around this area, and mainly one of the main places I love to go is local to me is a place called Leybourne Lakes, which looks like this. Here we are, Leybourne Lakes, as promised. And a little bit extra, if we're talking about diversifying, have a look at the sign in the background. That was designed by me. Part of the Tunbridge and Malling Borough Council Leybourne Lakes Country Park. Let me show you around. Here we go. Lakes is a fantastic place to take pictures of wildlife, particularly in the summer, but bird life, pond life, insects, things like that, which I really love taking pictures of, so that's great. So that's a little introduction to my photography side, and as I said at the start, one of the main things I wanted to point out is the ability to diversify what you offer people. And there's two really good reasons for that, and this is the main thing. Obviously, from a money making point of view, you can make more money by offering different services. I've said it before in other videos, and it's true. The other side of it is for your own well-being. Now for me it's photography or writing or drawing, but for other people there's lots of things people do to mix up their life and keep things interesting. If you're a graphic designer and all you do all day, every day is logo design or branding, then you could quite easily be sitting there getting square eyes, getting bored, or just getting complacent about what you do. If you can do other things to keep yourself interested, then do it if you've got the time. Photography for me takes me outside, it gets me a bit of alone time, a bit of thinking time, and gives me a chance to take some creative shots that aren't necessarily being paid for. They act as good marketing. They go up on the Spaceman Pics Instagram site, so that they're good in that sense. But realistically, it's to keep things going and keep life interesting. So that's one of the main reasons to diversify what you're doing in your work life to make money, in your personal life to keep things interesting. So thanks very much for watching. As I said, I'll put the links to Spaceman Pics, my photography side of the business. So I hope you liked the video. If you did, please click like. If you're watching for the first time, please click subscribe and the little bell so you know when my videos come up. I'd love you to come back. I'll see you next time. Thanks very much for watching. Bye.